what Sinn Féin wants, Sinn Féin gets.
A peace centre should be for people like Michelle Williamson.
The families of those who were butchered by the people who were in here.
So what should be done with the maze? Simple, flatten it.
Mr. Robinson, I would remind you that you treat your own people as fools at your peril. You are the first unionist leader in over a century who doesn't have a constituency in Westminster. You couldn't even hold East Belfast for the Union. And that was before you built a shrine.
They can demonise us, they can tell us we're not welcome to walk the streets, but they'll never silence us. Thank you. No surrender.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know whether you can hear me. Well, if you can, I hope they can hear me back in Fermanagh as well. Because let me tell you folks, once I get in front of a microphone, I sometimes say things that people don't like. Can I also say that I heard Jim Allister there, and I heard him say what Nigel Dodds had said about the terrorist shrine at the Maze. Can I also say I welcome what Nelson McCausland and the Reverend William McRae have said in the past. They don't support a shrine. They don't support a conflict resolution centre. But can I say we do need a peace centre in Northern Ireland. But it's not for those terrorists, and it's not for those people that murdered our loved ones in this province. A peace centre should be for people like Michelle Williamson and many other people in this community. Many other people in this community who have given the ultimate sacrifice, and their loved ones have given the ultimate sacrifice. When I served 18 years in the Ulster Defence Regiment, and I can tell you, I didn't serve during that time, I didn't visit the homes of people that were murdered. Just to have a shrine and a transformation centre in a H block and a prison cell here, those people are the very people that wreaked havoc in this community and brought nothing but bloodshed and misery to our community. That's the very people. And I just wonder, I know Jim said there what our forefathers of 1912 would think. What would our last generation of 1970 and 1980 think? Those people that gave their lives, and those families. I still remember visiting the homes. I still can see vividly those nights, those dark, cold winter nights, that I went into those homes and seen a young wife with maybe 3 of a family. And those are the people that need the help and the support now, not the people that created that and made those victims. Now I actually welcome Mr. Brannigan's statement that we're not going to have a terrorist shrine here. Well, if that's the case, I want to see what buildings is left in there belonging to the prison flattened. If there's no shrine, if there's going to be no shrine, there's going to be no need for those buildings. I have asked 2 of our previous ministers of the environment to delist those buildings and flatten them, and both have refused. Both have refused. I will also say, ladies and gentlemen, we only have to look at last night. People say we're in a whole new society. What happened in Londonderry last night whenever the council wanted to bring the veterans service in to talk to the council? What did the Sinn Féin guy say? He as much as said, Brits out. No more Brits here. We don't want them. They don't represent us. That is the type of society that we still live in. I still believe in Northern Ireland. I still believe in Britishness, and I still want to remain part of the United Kingdom. I fought for it for 18 years. I fought for it for 18 years, I will still fight for it, and I will continue to fight for it. And let me tell you folks, nobody will remove my Britishness, nobody will remove me from here, but I say two things. No Brits out, and flatten what's in there.
Glad to see you all turned up for this. It's good to see we haven't gone away. But all I can say is this needs to be the first step against fighting Sinn Féin's efforts to rewrite history and legitimise their cause. If they legitimise violent republicanism and forget the past, then it's my generation that's condemned to repeat it. With centres like this here that become a breeding ground for militant republicanism, how can you expect anything less than conflict? And what Peter Robinson's forgetting up in the hill is, it's young lads like me that end up fighting it. We end up in the holes in the ground, or injured, or in jails. Now I haven't seen the hell of the past, and quite frankly, I don't want to see it. There's an old saying, "Key separate rabbit, who shall separate us?" Well, at the end of the day, it's not down to us. They can criminalise us, they can demonise us, they can tell us we're not welcome to walk the streets, but they'll never silence us. Thank you. No surrender!
Thanks very much, Wayne, for that. They say our youth don't know what's going on. They're starting to learn. And it's about time we start to tell them exactly what we come through, so they don't have to come through it.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for the opportunity to be here on what is an important occasion for people of principle who believe that right is still right and that wrong is wrong. Let me make it very clear. We are not opposed to regeneration of 300 acres at the Maze, but we are most assuredly opposed to the glorification of terrorism at the Maze. It wasn't so very long ago that the proposal for a stadium at the Maze was stopped. Why? Because it was going to be on the same site as the prison buildings. Why was that objectionable? Well, according to Mr. Robinson and other DUP personnel, if those buildings remained, then it would become a shrine. Now, where are we? From the same Mr. Robinson, a proposal not for a stadium, but a peace building centre of which an integral part will be the very same buildings that were objectionable in the past. Sinn Féin, on the other hand, are very clear about what these buildings will be used for. Raymond McCartney said not so long ago, the listed and retained buildings will be open to the public. There will be the opportunities for the many stories of the jail to be told. Ladies and gentlemen, I need hardly translate that for you. These buildings will become the focal point for Provo revisionism. When they rewrite history, they will become the focal point for pilgrimage, for physical force republicanism. Nigel Dodds once opposed such a scheme at the Maze. Then Nigel Dodds opposed a whole lot of things. But he was right when he said this. Let me read you what he said. However it is dressed up, whatever spin is deployed, the preservation of a section of the H-box, including the hospital wing, would become a shrine to the terrorists who committed suicide in the Maze in the 1980s. That would be obnoxious, he said, to the vast majority of people, and is something unionist people cannot accept. Was Nigel Dodds wrong? Or is Peter Robinson wrong today when he tells us it will be a mecca for tourism. It'll be a mecca, all right, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be a mecca for tourists. Why this switch from saying they're so offensive you can't even have a stadium to now you can incorporate them in the peace buildings? I'll tell you why. Because in Stormont, what Sinn Féin wants, Sinn Féin gets. And that's why they have rolled over on this issue. And that is why they want to impose in Lagan Valley that obscenity of the prison buildings being open for the glorification of terrorism. Now they have appointed a guru as an architect, the same architect who designed the memorial at the Twin Towers. I've got a very simple, poignant question for him. He came here this week. Let me quote you what he said. His design will give voice to all associated with the past use of the site. That, ladies and gentlemen, inescapably includes the IRA hunger strikers. And I've one pertinent question for Mr. Libeskind. When you designed the Ground Zero Memorial, did you include Al-Qaeda? Because they were most certainly associated with the Twin Towers. No, of course you didn't.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honour for me to be here tonight. It's an honour for me to be invited by my friend, Willie Fraser. And Willie Fraser and I go back a long time. But the one thing that has struck me about Willie Fraser is, Willie Fraser will never ever surrender. He will never. Willie Fraser has done his absolute best to represent the families of those who were butchered by the people who were in here, and who are now on the verge of being remembered by a party at Stormont that is fit for the truck, never mind fit for government. But I have served in Uri and Mourne District Council, which most of you will know is a hotbed of Republican fascism. And one of the things that touched me in recent times was, and I just mentioned it to Jim Allister earlier, the Fork Hill, former RUC and British Army base. Whenever the Army and the police were pulled out of that area, the Republicans in South Armagh demanded that they got the base for a community association to work in. Now, Peter Robinson was the finance minister, and he said, absolutely no way. You just can't get it. It's been valued at £5 million and you have to sell this base and the money go into the Northern Ireland economy. What did that man do a couple of years later? He turned round, bent double and handed it to them for nothing. Now there's a Gaelic pitch going into it and a facility, a community facility. Now what the community facility is going to be in South Armagh, I don't know. But the thing that struck me is, in Glenanne, not far from where Willie Fraser lives, there was UDR men who served our country well were killed there. Why didn't the DUP Minister Peter Robinson, why didn't he say, look, this process is meant to be about equality and fairness and everybody has to be treated fairly? Why didn't he turn round and say to Willie Fraser and Fair, there's the Glenanne Army base that's up for grabs now, because we give this to this Republican group, Sinn Féin, nationalist group, we're going to give you that group. No, they didn't give them it. What have they done? They've actually tried to destroy Willie Fraser and Fair instead of treating him with the respect he deserves. There are, as Tom Elliott has said, it is quite cool here tonight, but I don't want to leave here tonight with the thought that we can't do anything, because there are many things that we can do. We can actually write to the Northern Ireland Environment Agency en masse and tell them that these buildings are not within the criteria for listing and ask for them to be delisted. The other system is 18 million of this £18 of this money is coming from the European Union. Now the European Union's own criteria, and I have it wrote down, but it's too long to explain, but in basic terms it says if their money going into the Northern Ireland peace process, as they call it, has the potential to cause division and does not have general acceptance across both the communities, it can't be spent on any project like that. Now, do we support this? No! Well, if we don't support it, we have petitions made out tonight to the European Commission, and Jim Allister, I'm sure, will keep us well advised on that we can send out, there's at least 500 or 600 people here tonight. If every man took one and got 4 or 5 of those done and photocopied and done, that way we can put pressure on the European Commission. All is not lost. We have the ability to fight. In 1912, whenever all these home rulers were saying, look boys, you never beat the government, take home rule, we stood our ground and we beat them and we made Ulster, and we're not going to give her up. Thank you very much.
This is just wrong, and I can't understand how any right-minded thinking person, as in Peter Robinson, can agree with this. So what should be done with the maize? Simple, or simples, flatten it. And instead of remembering this place where the terrorists were held, let us remember the innocent victims that they created. The innocent victims, the terrorists. Who deserves a shrine in Northern Ireland? The innocent victims. Thank you.
Respectability and history have one thing in common. They're written by the winners. And respectability and history feed off each other. What is allowed to stand as history becomes a respectability in a society. Now, this new Northern Ireland that we are talked about, this new Northern Ireland that we are told is being moved forward, it seems to me that it rests on silence. There are certain questions we are not supposed to ask. We are not supposed to ask if our Deputy First Minister was the Deputy Commander of the IRA in 1972. Is he not complicit in the Claudy bombing? We are not supposed to ask why we in Northern Ireland are the only people in Western Europe who, if we wish to protest about any government policy, have to seek permission from a government-appointed quango. Now, we are not supposed to ask what is the purpose of the retention of the hospital block in the Maze prison. We're not supposed to ask. We have been told it's not going to be a shrine. Well, let me tell you, Mr. Robinson, no building, no location anywhere in the world is preserved or maintained unless it satisfies one or both of 2 criteria. Either it contains some unique architectural feature, or it is associated with persons or events that are deemed worthy of historical commemoration. Now, the hospital block in the Maze, is it to be compared to the Pantheon in Rome? Is it to be compared to Belfast City Hall, which is acknowledged as the finest example of neoclassical architecture anywhere in the world? Well, I don't think so. As far as I'm aware, the hospital block in the Maze is simply another... yes, it could be a toilet. It's quite simply a nondescript building. It represents nothing worthy in architectural terms of being preserved. So therefore, the only reason that it is being preserved, the only reason that the money will be spent to maintain it, is because it is associated with something historical. We know, Mr. Robinson, what historical events the prison block in the Maze, we know what people are associated with it. Now, you tell us it's not going to be a shrine. Well, Mr. Robinson, no building that is preserved because it is of historical interest is anything other than used to honour the events or the people that are associated with it. No one goes to Mount Stewart and Newtownards and comes away without some sense of the importance of the Viscount Castlereagh. If the hospital block at the Maze is retained, it simply cannot be used for anything other than at least the justification for the actions of those who died within it. We are not fools, Mr. Robinson. I would remind you that you treat your own people as fools at your peril. You are the first unionist leader in over a century who doesn't have a constituency in Westminster.
Hear, hear.
You couldn't even hold East Belfast for the Union. And that was before you built a shrine. But we are reasonable people, Mr. Robinson. We are very reasonable people. We will not ask you to do anything which is unprecedented. There is precedence for dealing with places which are associated with murder. 10 Rillington Place, the house in which John Christie committed murder, was demolished after his execution. The house in which Fred and Rose West committed their murders has been demolished, Mr. Robinson. And the house in which the Moors murderers committed their unspeakable crimes have been demolished. And guess what, Mr. Robinson? They were all demolished lest they become shrines. Now before Mr. Robinson comes back and says, but there was no ritual crime committed in the prison block at the Maze. Well, Mr. Robinson, there was no actual crime committed at Hitler's mountain retreat at Berchtesgaden. But it was blown up after the end of the war, specifically so that it would not be a shrine. So we are quite prepared to accept the rest of the world's leadership, Mr. Robinson. We are quite prepared to see this nondescript building, which bears no architectural merit, flattened, so that nobody will ever again justify murder. Mr. Poots, if you want to see a conflict centre built, a resolution centre, if there is the slightest possibility that it would save any community from the agony that was inflicted upon us, we will not only allow you to build it, we'll help you, we'll raise money to help you build it if we think it will work. We only ask one thing, that rather than build it at the Maze, if, Mr. Poots, you want to bring the benefit of jobs and tourism and economic input through the medium of a conflict resolution centre to the Lisburn area, build it close to the Lamont House Hotel. And when you have your first symposium or conference or seminar at your newly completed conference resolution centre, perhaps your erstwhile colleagues in the cabinet could explain to you and to us where exactly Martin and Jerry, where exactly was the legitimate military target at a colleague club dinner.
Hear, hear.
Well said, Robert. Every word of it 100% correct. Yes. Well, you'll be glad to hear, folks, that's the end of the speakers. And I would like to thank everybody for coming here tonight. But I also want to send this message. They'll think we'll come here, we'll gather, we'll roar and shout, and we'll go home and forget about it. They don't know us too well. We're not the Never Never men. We're the Ulster men. A simple question, and my wife's actually here. Aren't you? And a few other people who can back me up in this. Simple question. Who asked to keep the hospital wing? It was the killers who made it part of the agreement that the hospital wing would have to be kept or there'd be no peace.
That's right.
Why? They brought me in 6 years ago, and sometime, I'll not go on here because it's too cold, but 6 years ago I was brought in and shown the plans of this place in here by the NAO, and they told me how brilliant it was going to be and what they were going to do for the victims. And how would you like to look after the victims' end, Willie? For the innocent victims in the new building. And this is fact. I let them explain to me, I let them show me the plans, and one of them says to me, "What do you think?" I says, "Well, I'm not sure." Your man says, "Well, Willie, it's a 5-year contract and it's 65 grand a year, or it could be even 67. I says, "No, there's no point in me taking it." The other boy says, "There's expenses as well, Willie." And there's people here can back me up in this. I said, "You don't understand. For me to get in round there looking at them plans with a D8, I'm going to have to knock the building down. You're looking me to working." They just shook the head. So don't tell me that people aren't being bought off. They are being bought off. But the blood and the limbs and the memory of what our people died for, no money can buy. And the people who are standing here know other people who feel the same way as you do. This was arranged by a few individuals quickly. I want to assure them, the people who told me, "Willie, a few years ago, we can't let them keep this place, it's going to be a shrine." The Lagan Valley MP. "Willie, we can't let them keep this place because it's going to be a shrine." The leader of the DUP. What are they saying now? It's not going to be a shrine because we're getting very well paid. Don't treat us as fools. One last thing I'll finish with.
Well, imagine an Irish shrine in the centre of the garrison city of Lisburn.
It's a disgrace.
Unbelievable, mate.
It's a disgrace.
The garrison city. An Irish shrine up here. Unbelievable, mate.
If Peter Robertson could go up and put the Ulster flag up in the centre across Midland, then he can come and talk to us about peace. But I just want to say, our Deputy First Minister, a couple of years ago, we got a photograph, I'm sure you've seen it in the media, of him firing a Luger pistol. Somebody done us the favour of telling us where to go to get it in the United States. We did that. That photograph appeared in the paper of Martin Machine Gun Marty firing the Luger pistol. I'm sure you have all seen it. The police come and interviewed me and said, "Willie, we're going to go and interview the man that took that photograph. Well, can you please look out for the police when you're going home, because I haven't seen them since." That's over 2 years ago. Martin McGuinness firing a Luger pistol. Martin McGuinness walking about with a Thompson machine gun. And this here is not going to be a shrine. Don't treat us as fools. No surrender, folks. And by the way, this is only the start. I'll tell you one thing, I've spoken to the 9/11 people for a number of years, and I'll tell you what, there'd have been nothing till Al-Qaeda in the 9/11 that he was involved in. So how does he think he can come over to Ulster? The people who built America, the frontiers who cleared the road in America, well, we'll clear the road here if we have to as well, with a D8. This is only the start, folks. Thanks very much for coming, and safe home. Tonight we're outside the maze here, and I think a clear message has been sent. The people do not want it. I don't care what anybody has to say. For the turnout we had here tonight, and given what went on with the people who tried to destroy it by putting out false information, actually trying to badmouth good, loyal people. But anyway, the message is coming loud and clear here. This shrine is not going to be allowed to succeed. We will take whatever steps we have to remove this out of the equation. There's no glorification going to happen in Lisburn to the murder of our people.